Well, hey everybody. It's Thursday, November 14th, 2024. I'm Jan Erickson and this is As Above, So Below. Well, I just want to remind everybody you probably know if you go outside at night, you're starting to see the moon get bigger. We're going to have full moon tomorrow in Taurus, and Saturn begins to station direct today and will be fully out of retrograde on Saturday. So that's the only astrological stuff I need to talk about this morning. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started and take a rune from the Elder Futhark bag for the above side of things, or the higher self side of things. Hope everybody's doing well, getting ready to go into the weekend. Put that over there. Well, we have Fehu. Fehu is the first rune of the Elder Futhark. It kind of looks like the letter F in a way. and it means cattle and wealth. But it also, when you think about cattle equaling wealth, cattle is movable. And so when you think about it that way, you're thinking about the transactions you have in your life. It can be about life force. It can be used as ascending energy behind magical workings through casting spells. It can mean growth and success. Oftentimes it means money. But more broadly, it's how do you transact your relationships? How do you transact your experiences in your life? Are you transactional in your life? Is everything a quid pro quo for you, or do you just interact with people just because that's what you're doing? You have no expectations of them other than you would like a positive encounter. Other than that, there's no expectations. So you might even be able then to include the idea of expectations of what that's all going to look like with Fehu. But let's take a look at the. So maybe there's going to be some interactions today that where you're thinking about how you're doing that, maybe, or how others are doing that with you. All right, let's see what we have here. We have Fortuna Major. So again, that sort of emphasizes, at least in the beginning, money transactions with Fortuna Major. Fortuna Major is greater fortune. But again, more broadly, what are you really looking at when you talk about greater fortune? Is it the relationships you have in your life? Is it the family? Is it the respect you've gained from others? Is it the type of person that you are with others? There's Fortuna Major. Its complement is Fortuna Minor. So this is major. This would be minor, and where this would be progressive success or the process you take. This is more about the outcome. It's also about success, ego, achievement, being in the spotlight. More inner assistance versus asking for help from other people. You kind of have that already, unless there's a level of maybe perfectionism there where maybe that's more in your mind than it is in reality. So again, how you transact your experiences with other people in the world, at work, in your family, in your neighborhood, in the community. How is that going to give you the positive outcome that you want to have? Maybe we can see it that way. Also included in Fortuna Major might be micromanaging a situation. And so you kind of have a spectrum there with each of the Geomancy runes, not just Fortuna Major and its complement, Fortuna Minor. That's one continuum, that's one spectrum. But even within each rune, there's a spectrum of being a little more functional and a little more ego-based, essentially. And you'll see that in any of the Geomancy runes. But particularly when you're talking about a successful enterprise with somebody or a successful outcome that's going to bring you money, If you're opening a business, how are you going to be with your customers? What type of a business owner are you going to be? How engaging are you going to be with your customers? Are you going to leave it all to your staff? Are they going to know you, or are they just, or do they always feel like they don't really know who they're dealing with? So it could be something like that today. But let's see what the cards have to say. They're going to give us a little more detail about what that is, and define it further. And unless we get a lot of pentacles, which would mean, material security, so money, unless we get that, I think that we might be able to define this a little more broadly than just kind of the successful outcome, of maybe, a new job, a raise or something like that. That's definitely tied to finances. So we'll just see. If we get a lot of swords, then I think you're looking at how you communicate or transact with other people on that level. So we'll cut the deck and take 3 cards. We've got 2 from the Major Arcana. And then we also have the Queen of Pentacles. So let's go ahead before we go any further and take a look at the numerology. Where is my calculator? There it is. So we had a 1 for Fehu, because this is the first rune of the Elder Futhark. We have an 18 for the moon. And we have an 8 for strength. 2 is 27. 2 and 7 is 9. So 9 is going to be our overall numerology for the reading. The Queen of Pentacles, the court doesn't ever have any number associated with any of those cards. So we're looking at a 9. Now 9 can be endings and completion. It can mean generosity and spirituality. So if we take generosity from it, and we combine that with Fehu and Fortuna Major, then I think that it's the how you interact with other people, how you transact your experiences, not necessarily, although we do have Queen of Pentacles, but in a way that can both achieve your material security, but can also define who you are in that process. So, and how you're going to approach things. So again, if you're a new business owner, you have to be thinking about that sort of thing. How are you going to engage with your customers? Will you be doing it? Will you be the one that says, "Hi, I'm going to let this person here handle this from here," and and just be kind of the person that's happy and talks to people and visits and things like that. And then you delegate other things to your staff, which is top notch, right? And can take care of what your customers need. You might be something like that, or you may be the type of business owner that maybe you're a sole proprietor, and you're going to be the one that wants to deal with the customers and the clients, and you want to be the one that presents your business to them. So it could be something like that. But if not, then let's talk about the moon. We'll talk about the moon first, and then we'll talk about strength. The moon deals with our emotions. It also deals with emotional balance. It deals with deception, and also a little bit of rebirth there too, an awakening. It can indicate strong intuition. You see here the moon looking down, none too happy, at the dog and the wolf that are barking up at it. And you see 2 towers here, one on either side. And whenever you see that, and you also see the two canines, essentially, even though they're different, you can look at this as dark and light, the shadow side of self and spirit. You could look at it that way. You could look at it the feminine versus the masculine within. But whenever you see 2 of anything, and especially if you have a pathway or something dividing them, then you're looking at balance. This is true in any card that you see in the Rider-Waite, where you see towers. You might see, like with the Chariot in the Major Arcana, you see 2 wheels on there. You see the 2 sphinxes down below, dark and light. Again, the same sort of theme as the moon has in that way. but you also see the crayfish coming out of the water, and the significance of that, anytime you see that in the tarot, you're looking at rebirth or transformation. And so if we're starting out being concerned about emotional balance, you may also be thinking about just how honest are you, how much deception is in play. And so you want to be careful, especially if you're trying to manifest something, manifest a successful outcome of some kind. You could think Fehu as manifestation in that regard, and then Fortuna Major as a positive outcome at the end. How you get there matters. And so you want to maintain an emotional balance. You want to not be afraid to look at that in your life. You're not afraid to essentially transform how you see things. You may have strong intuition that tells you, the last conversation I had was maybe not really where I want to go. I want to do that a little bit differently. So in a sense, maybe you're always in that place of reevaluation, especially if you're starting out as a new business. And as the business owner, you want to make sure that how you come across is going to get you the clientele that you want, right? And therefore the income that you're looking for and the success you want. And so, you might want to look at the moon today as signaling the need for reevaluation and transformation of how you see things and how you express yourself, and to make sure that you're in an emotional balance where you're not feeling like you're sending them the wrong message to your customers or something. And so we might think of it that way. Also, with it being the 18, you're looking again at a 9 numerology. 18, 8 and 1 is 9. And so, you're looking at the same numerology as the overall one for the reading. So there's the synchronicity there. Maybe where this is you were one way, and now the transformation is taking place because you see, you pay attention to how your customers respond to you, and am I connecting with them and all of that. So there may be a point, if this is a new business for you, where you're going to be thinking about those things and reevaluating on a pretty regular basis. Okay, did that go well? How did my interaction go with that customer or that client? And am I really conveying what I need to in a way that to make them want to do business with me? In other words, to make them want to come back and do more business with me, or to refer me on to somebody else who might need something. And so there's a sense of endings with the 9 and completion. But if you consider the transformation and the emotional balance, transforming that into a more middle path, if you will, the middle way, then, the lobster, or rather the crayfish, I used to always see this as a lobster, but I guess it's actually crayfish. But same sort of idea, right? And where they shed their skin. And so anytime you see anything that sheds its skin, you're talking about rebirth or transformation. So again, you may be in a situation, if this isn't a new business for you, maybe you're in a new job or a new position in a job, where you need to be mindful of how you come across to others, and to make sure you're doing it in a way that's going to achieve the success you're looking for. Then we move on to strength. Card 8 from the Major Arcana. Here you have, I just interpret her as the goddess, but you have a woman there. And she's holding the head of a lion in her hands. His tongue is out. He's so happy she's petting him, and he just loves her, And you see the lemniscate, the figure 8 above her head. If you turn it that way, you have an 8. And being the 8th card of the Major Arcana, you're looking at strength, inner strength, and which reflects the card's title. 8 numerology is about strength. It's about leadership, about material recognition and approval. And so having the strength to transform yourself as many times as you need to not stay stuck in one mindset, to not stay stuck in one way that you interact with other people, to take your cues from the people that you're dealing with to make sure you're getting the message across that you want to get across today. That takes some inner strength to do that, to be that transformative in your life. We all get in this bubble and it's comfortable. And so even if it's not the most fun place to be, for some people that's comfort, because it's familiar. Even though it might not be what they really want, and they know it's not really what they want, but at the same time, it's hard to get out of it, right? And so it's going to take some inner strength on your part to tame the wild within, or the ego within, that keeps you in that bubble and keeps you in that place of, well, I'm not going to do anything any differently. Well, the moon is suggesting, the moon is cyclical, right? And so you always have a chance to reinvent yourself every step of the way. You don't have to get stuck in one mindset or one way of doing things or one way of interacting. You can transform and rebalance and reclaim the power that is yours in the process, you see. And so how I see this card is really pretty simple. It's being able to make peace with the demons within, the ego within, that wants to, take the easy way out and doesn't really care about what other people think, and just feels like, oh, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault, if something doesn't happen right. No, you got to own it. And it takes strength to do that, and to own that need to transform, and to be aware of how you come across to other people, and are you doing that with a sense of balance? Here with the dog and the wolf, this could be the projective side of self with the wolf, the fire side, the masculine side, whereas this could be the feminine side. And you want to have that, the dog is the feminine side, essentially. And I'm just looking at that in terms of the color of them here. And so the shadow side of self, or the feminine side of self, or the receptive side of self, has to be in balance with the projective side. If they're imbalanced, then maybe you don't assert yourself. If the dog has more power than the wolf, well, maybe you don't assert yourself when you should. Maybe you don't take charge when you should. Whereas if the wolf is more in charge, then maybe you're not allowing for other people to have their moment. You don't delegate. This would be a person, again, with Fortuna Major, where micromanagement is an issue, where you just, the person micromanages everything, and they don't give their staff any chance to learn the job and to interact the way they should be with other people. And because the masculine side, or the projective side, or the wolf side is just too strong, right? And so there has to be some kind of balance there. And to achieve it, you have the crayfish coming out of the water with rebirth and transformation. You have the awareness of how you're transacting your experiences in your life with Feihu, and you're being mindful of how that happens. Assert yourself when necessary, but at the same time, try not to micromanage anything, and have the inner strength to do that, to tame that within, and to realize that there's a greater purpose involved here, especially if you're the owner of the business, or you're trying to get a promotion, or you just got one, or whatever. You have to be able to tame the wild within, and to find that balance. Both the moon and strength are about essentially inner balance, and finding that balance that works the best for you. Again, without being afraid to take a look at it either ongoing every day, or whatever, however often you do that. If you have an interaction with somebody that doesn't go well, instead of blaming them for it, even though it might clearly be them, you still want to look at yourself and say, well, could there have been another way I could have handled that? Again, not taking responsibility for the behavior of other people, because they have to own that. But there's always going to be an element where you can take a look at things and say, how could I have done this differently, so that it could have been an even better outcome? And so you use each moment essentially as a lesson, if you will, in how do you do all that? How do you express Feihu in your life, so that Fortuna Major comes into play? So that's how do you make that balance between higher awareness and understanding of how things need to transact with other people from a higher perspective, essentially, and then how does that manifest on the earthly plane with Fortuna Major, in a way that you're successful. And again, I think, you have to be able to look at yourself. And when all is said and done, you have the Queen of Pentacles here, who's quiet. She's ambitious. She's sitting in her lovely garden. I mean, I just love this card. I love her. I love her throne. It's so cool. But you've got the steer's head here, which is indicative of the earth element, and pentacles, of course, is the earth element, reflects the earth element. And with the queen, she's a woman in authority, but she's somebody who's quiet and reflective. And so it emphasizes the idea of, I got here by being quiet and reflective, but at the same time, she's successful, she's trustworthy, she's generous. And again, that the generosity aligns with the 9 numerology for the whole reading, as well as the 9 here with the moon card. You have to be generous in your emotional expression. You have to be thinking about how that comes across to other people, and the emotional balance that you maintain throughout all of that. And in the end, your success will be obvious. You'll be able to sit in your garden and and be quiet and enjoy your solitude and the wealth that you've achieved. And again, but if it's not money, it could be the legacy you leave behind for other people, and the example you set for other people as well. So depending on how you want to see this, if it's more specific to a job that you have, or a career you're starting, or a business you're starting, or a new position as supervisory maybe that you're starting, or whether or not you're just looking at all of the greater fortune of your life, which is your friends, your family, who you are, your integrity, what you leave, the legacy you leave behind for others, the example you set. It could be a little more esoteric than just more specific, but I think either way this resonates. I think it's just something to think about. I think it's a valuable lesson to learn that you're not done yet. You're still learning, you're still growing, you're still changing. Fehu's about growth and as well, and you're always in the learning mode. You're never finished. And so if the ego is saying, well, you don't need to step outside your comfort zone and be anything different for any other people, it's up to them to do the job. No, that's not true. It's up to you. And so don't think that all is said and done, that you've got it together and it's all going to be fine, and how you're doing things is just perfect, and nothing ever needs to be changed or looked at, because I don't think that's true, and I don't think the reading is suggesting that it is. I think that you're always in that process of reevaluation, and as long as you stay there, then you don't get stuck in perception that may leave you, not willing to look at yourself and just blaming everybody else for what's going on, And so I think that the Queen of Pentacles would agree with that. She's trustworthy that way. You can, whatever wisdom she wants to impart to you, you need to be trustworthy. You need to be all of those things. You need to be wise and ambitious, but yet generous with your time and your willingness to rethink things. Just being able to accept change as just part of things, and transformation is part of the whole experience of being in physical reality. That's just part of it. And so often we get stuck and we don't want to do that. We think, oh, well, everything we're doing is just fine and dandy. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And, businesses sometimes fail because the owners cannot see how they come across to other people. And people come out of the business not feeling very good about the experience. So they're not going to go back. And so just being able to look at all of that in a very selfless way, instead of a selfish way, is key, I think, to manifesting, a positive outcome in whatever this, and however this applies to you today. So anyhow, I think I don't think we need another card. It's just interesting the idea of keeping a spiritual approach, or one of generosity of spirit, we'll say, maybe expressing that in your life can only elevate the Fehu energy to a level where you're able to see the bigger picture of how all that comes about, and whether or not that is actually working for you, or are you working against your own purposes here. So anyhow, I think that's it. Well, have a good weekend, and check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. Social media wise, I've been spending more time on Blue Sky. Everybody seems to be transitioning over to Blue Sky. Also on Threads, people are there too, but some people are saying they like Blue Sky better than Threads. I don't know. I like them both, but we're moving away from the other place, and so definitely I'm over on both Threads and Blue Sky. I'm Wise Woman 1957. So if you forget, click on more, scroll down to the very bottom of that window that pops up, and you'll see all the places I am on social media. You'll see that there. So if you want to follow me over on those places, that'd be awesome. I have a feeling that the original place, the bird place, is probably not going to be around much longer, but I don't know. At least I don't know. It's not a fun place to be anymore. At least I don't think so. Maybe some people do, but I'm still there. But there's just some people that are there that I talk to, and so they haven't come over to the other places yet. So I'll hang out there a little while longer, but I don't know. Most people are deleting their accounts over there, so we'll see. But in any event, you can see that. You can also check out the blog at Stepping Aside. The web address again is imsteppingaside.com, and again, it's right there at the top. If you click on more and open that window, it's right there at the top. If you forget, everything comes out that I post there on Sunday mornings at midnight hour. The first 5 minutes of the midnight hour, and I schedule them to come out then. And you can also see a lot of that stuff over on Substack, Medium, and Patreon, if you like reading stuff over on those platforms. But I would love it if you went over and looked at the blog and see what you think. I'm pretty proud of it, and I enjoy doing it. So check all that out. The forecast is there. The correspondences for Work and Magic are there for each week, and there's an herb magic series going on right now too that I'm writing. So check all that out if you would. I'd love you to do that. The newsletter comes out on Saturday. You get all of that there if you want to see it all in your inbox, which I know I don't, but anyway, if you want to, you can do that. Just scroll down a little bit when you get to the blog, and it's on the right side panel. You'll see sign up for newsletter here. You just put your email in. You can unsubscribe anytime you want. That's fine. I completely understand, but some people like to just read stuff in one spot, and you can do that there. So again, thanks for watching, and come back again on Monday of next week for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.